producers behind the scenes at SKOR North and 1500 ESPN have sports opinions, so they want you to hear them. It's the perfect digital sports soapbox to scratch that Minnesota sports itch. This is the SKOR North Taxi Squad.
In Dobbs we trust. Not only is that the official motto of Minnesota Vikings fans everywhere right now, it's also a phrase so endearing, so powerful, that it got Taylor Swift kicked off the NFL social media accounts finally. Welcome in to the SKOR North Taxi Squad, everybody. It's available on SKORNorth.com, SKOR North mobile app, Apple, Spotify, and if you want to see our lovely faces, you can check us out on the SKOR North YouTube channel. My name is Jason Stormer, one of your cabbies on duty. Joined with the usual suspects today, we got AJ Fredrickson and Artis Woods. Guys, safe to say we are in the thick of Dabba-palooza. Josh Dobbs leading the Minnesota Vikings to another win over the New Orleans Saints, a 27-19 victory. A lot of people wondered if the Vikings were going to have a letdown after an awesome game by Josh Dobbs in Atlanta. That has not been the case. And that Taylor Swift run on the NFL header, I think, was like 42 days. So if you think she's a megastar, you got to be an even bigger megastar to supplant her. But guys, how are you feeling today? And how do you think Vikings fans are feeling after another fun week of football here in Minnesota?
I'm good. I'm a little shocked at how well that first half went. And we'll talk about it, but like it wasn't an out of body experience, because I'm saving that for like an actual, like a blowout win of that sort where they play the entire game. But there were times where I was like, during commercial breaks, I would get up, I'd walk away, and I'd be like, is he really doing this? Is he really doing this against the Saints? Like, what is happening? Why did they get this guy for only a 6th-round pick? What is going on? So Josh Dobbs I'm not saying I doubted him, because I said last week I'd be interested for a full week of like preparation, but boy, is he exceeding expectations. This guy is so unbelievably smart, and you can tell just like he's like a dry sponge when it comes to like his mind for playbooks, because KOC is like the liquid, or like the plant waterer, just like dousing him in the playbook, and he's just soaking it all up. He's like a sham wow. He, like, if he didn't have the whole Pasternaut thing and then last name of Dobbs, he's the sham wow guy. It's been probably better circumstances than most backups would probably expect to come into, given like the schedule and the personnel, and arguably over the past like 5-ish weeks, you could argue a top 5 to 7-ish defense by the Vikings. So Brian Flores is doing his part. And now think about this. He's set to potentially, we're talking at about 8-11 here on November 15th, potentially getting one and only Justin Jefferson back. Whew. Imagine adding another, I don't have a space like analogy, but another trick up the magician's sleeve. Right now,
the greatest trick.
Arguably the greatest trick. So yeah, to sum it up, I am feeling fantastic. Artis, what about you?
Man, I don't even know. Much like last episode, I don't know what to say. I do not know what to say. Obviously, I had a lot to say about Jaren Hall last week. I was like, look, guys, man, I'm still kind of I want to see Jaren Hall, man. I like what I saw, young quarterback, got to see what you got there, in the young rookie. And now I'm watching that game and I'm like, gotta roll with Dobbs. Gotta roll with Dobbs. Forget everything I said last week. I do believe at some point you got to see what you have in Jaren Hall, but oh my goodness. Utter disbelief. And I'm not going to lie, AJ, you said, it's not like I doubted. No, I doubted him. I'm not going to act like I did. I doubted him. My biggest thing was, it was 2 things we were looking for heading into this week. One, it was 2 things in one, I would say. And it was which side would prevail more. Would it be the side of a defense now having a full week now to prepare for Josh Dobbs as the Minnesota Vikings quarterback? Or would it be Josh Dobbs having now a full week under, KOC to learn the playbook and, as a starter? Which side is going to prevail? And obviously, it did not matter that defense is a defense that's as great as the Saints had a full week to prepare for Dobbs because he came out in the first half and lit them boys up. I was watching that game like, dude, I have not seen the Vikings play that well in a long time. I'm just going to say it. Now, obviously, like you said, AJ, I would prefer for them to close the game out, still up 27-3. You know what I mean? Like I would prefer that. It kind of sucked to see, the Saints start to storm back a little bit. I never was concerned that the Vikings were going to lose the game, but it was kind of like I feel like Vikings fans have been looking for a blowout win for a long time. It's been a while since it's been just a blowout, just a clean win from start to finish. It seems like every game this year and last year has been, either you're getting blown out or every game is for the most part pretty close, right? So I was hoping that this would be that game. And it's crazy that you would see that with Josh Dobbs as the starter without Justin Jefferson, without KJ Osborne and that type of stuff. But, all in all, it was beyond impressive. I am on the train. I feel dumb now. I feel like I should have been on the train. Like, how could I not see this? But it's like I just didn't expect Dobbs to come out, especially against that defense. Whether home, on the road, I didn't care. Against that defense, I'm like, it's going to be tough. And boy, did he come out and show out. Again, the defense played exceptionally well in the first half. They let some things slide in the second half, but it is what it is. They weren't prepared for Jameis Winston, I'm sure. And Jameis Winston is an interesting guy to prep for because he's just wild. Like he will run to the left, throw to the right. He'll run to the right and throw to the left. Like you just never know what you're going to get out of Jameis, but he will give you a couple of interceptions, which he did late in the game, which helped seal the game. So, yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. And, 6-4 after starting, 1-4 or 1-3, I believe it was.
0-3. We were 0-3.
Yeah. But what can you say right now? Yeah. They are the hottest team in the NFC.
Yeah, this is extremely impressive. And what Josh Dobbs is doing, you guys took the words right out of my mouth. It's out of a storybook. The NFL writers couldn't have scripted this any better, guys, because we know that the entire season is scripted. We all saw this coming, right? Yeah, the Cleveland Browns got to feel really foolish right now, especially considering Deshaun Watson is now out for the season. They could have either kept Josh Dobbs before trading him to the Cardinals, or they could have traded back for him. There was rumors that Cleveland was interested in bringing him back. That's not the case. And so now all the fun that probably should have been happening in Cleveland is happening here in Minnesota. And this is so fun. I didn't think a backup quarterback could capture the imagination of Vikings fans as much as Case Keenum did in 2017. And obviously, that's a legendary run. Took us to the NFC Championship game, coming in for Sam Bradford after he got hurt, or in the second game of the season, something like that. That was absolutely magical. And as much as that streak with that season with Case Keenum had a good level of excitement, I don't think it ever reached a level of excitement that we're seeing right now with Josh Dobbs. I mean, Josh Dobbs is capturing the entire nation. This is absolutely crazy. He is so far the most darling story that has come out of the NFL this season. And it's just so heartwarming to see a guy, this journeyman who has been on so many teams, finally land with a team that is giving him a chance, and he's thriving in this role. It's just absolutely so cool to see. Now, I thought it was going to be a little shaky when the game did start because he did throw Josh Dobbs into that double coverage that ultimately ended up being a reception for Jordan Addison that set the Vikings up in field goal range in the first drive of the game. I thought at first, oh boy, if he's going to be making more of those throws, it might be a rough day for the Minnesota Vikings and their offense. And obviously, it was a lucky play that Jordan Addison was able to stay focused and was able to catch that ball. But the thing that I noticed, even more so than the running ability of Josh Dobbs this past week, was the throws that he made. They were really clean throws, tight spirals, not overthrowing receivers, not really underthrowing receivers either. It was just very good, accurate football. And obviously, I mean, this Vikings offense is a whole different dimension with Josh Dobbs as a running quarterback. And that 3rd and 6 play right before they scored that, I believe, the second touchdown of the game, that's just magic. That's just absolute magic. But more so than anything, I was surprised in the confidence I have in Josh Dobbs as a passer after this game. I really thought that the Saints were going to maybe blitz a ton, really try to get him out of the pocket, use his legs, and that kind of did happen. But no, I think the Saints kind of went in with a game plan like, no, let's keep the pocket contained with this guy. Let's make him throw the ball. And Josh Dobbs did everything right for the Minnesota Vikings in this game. It's so encouraging to see. Especially,
he did run. He was out there moving like Lamar Jackson out there.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness
No, it was
gracious.
part of that.
It's like, my goodness.
I know. It was a part of it, and it was awesome. But now, I mean, yeah, we have to totally ride with this guy as the starter for the rest of the season. I think he's already developed enough equity just in these last couple weeks that it's going to take a lot to supplant him as a starting quarterback. Obviously, we want Jaren Hall to be healthy and successful and everything like that. But, I mean, at this point, it would be a financial disaster if the Vikings didn't keep starting Joshua Dobbs as their quarterback. They're selling jerseys. They're supplanting Taylor Swift. Like, this is a money-making operation at this point, and it's been just one of the coolest stories of the NFL season, and it's just awesome that Minnesota Vikings are just getting to enjoy this because, guys, like Artis said, we started 0-3. This season was not looking good in terms of outlook. We kept the faith alive. We were hoping that the Vikings could rebound. They did, and they have in a way that just nobody could have expected. And now it's got us wondering just like how far can Josh Dobbs potentially take us in this crowded NFC picture? The Vikings are currently, I believe, 7th in the NFC standings right now. I believe if the playoffs started today, we'd be playing the Detroit Lions. And yeah, it's just now we get to have the conversations over the next several weeks, unless, a disaster happens. It's just like, all right, how much farther potentially could this guy take us this season? And then we can get into the fun, reckless speculation about whether or not Josh Dobbs really, truly is a long-term option at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Look, I mean, the conversations are already happening, and it's not just starting here. I've seen the thumbnails all over YouTube, all over social media. Like, these conversations are happening. In fact, our thumbnail last week on Taxi Squad was can Josh Dobbs be a long-term option at quarterback for the Vikings? So maybe it did start with the Taxi Squad. But yeah, guys, this is just an avenue in which I just didn't expect. Right? That's what we are.
Sir.
Yeah, guys, this has just been such a fun, unexpected turn that this Viking season has taken, and it might lead them to some bountiful yields as well. It's good.
Yeah, I'll get my foot out in front of this one. I personally am not even considering at this moment Josh Dobbs for anywhere past like February of next year. Like, he's playing, he's like Kyler Murray in a sense where like he's playing for his job,
Yeah.
I think the Vikings would like Kirk's injury actually, in my opinion, leveraged that like negotiation in the Vikings' favor in the sense of they're more likely to bring him back off of that injury rather than if he was healthy and still continuing the ball out, no matter how good he was doing, just because of how much money he was going to command in the free market. Now you never know. But Josh Dobbs, like, who knows how long this is? I want to give him a few games before we have a conversation like that. I understand people, talking heads around the state licking their chops at like that talking point. So I understand some people getting to the buffet table before I do there, which is getting, it doesn't happen often, but I want to pump the brakes just a little bit. Give me a few games. Granted, like, I want to see it against a good team, and he hasn't really faced the Saints are good, but like
the defense is, their defense is good. But the team as a whole is.
And granted, they played Jameis for a half there, so it's not like there's a knock against the offense, but like, give me a team that top 10-ish, like you could argue 10-ish top team in the league. I want to see him do it against that. The good and bad news is you don't have that for him here right away. That's good news because, then he can really get acclimated to the new landscape, to the new playbook, to the offense, and get in a groove so that when he does eventually run into that roadblock later in the season, sweet, he might be all set. And then he's going to prove me wrong and say, yeah, you're going to start talking about that now. But what if that doesn't happen? But at the other side of things, throw right into the fire. Trial by fire is like the best judge of character, judge of ability, judge of skill, judge of intangibles. So having that ability to like ramp up could also be like you're dressing up a pig in a sense where it's like it's still a pig at the end of the day, but it's a little bit prettier of a pig than normal. So a little more organized chaos. So we'll see. I just want to wait a few games here before we actually start talking about, because this was one game of him being at the facility, knowing everyone's name. this might be an unpopular opinion. I want to hear you guys' take too, really quick, because this really isn't football talk. But like, I really don't hope this he didn't know people's names bit.
Yeah.
Not bit, but like storyline. Can we put that to bed now? He's been there enough. Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
You can't say that, but also talk about how smart the guy is. He can remember some people's names, for God's sake. You know, like he's been there now for a week and a half. He's going to know people. I'll give him he gets off the elevator and doesn't know where the locker room is. Even though
That was a great video.
From what I hear, it's like right there.
As somebody who used to work at US Bank Stadium, it's literally right when you get off the elevator, you make a left. The locker room is right there, right by the field. So it is
so
pretty
you know,
close.
where was it for the TV cameras? Was it know whatever? I'll let it slide. But yeah, after the Saints game, now moving into prime time, and granted, it's prime time, so they're going to be talking about it. Unfortunately for me, let's drop it. Let's just talk about Josh Dobbs, the football player, from here on moving out. I love the pass route and everything, but like his social skills are probably just fine. He knows people's names. He knows how to.
Well, also there's people floating out there that it's a bit, that he's doing it on purpose to drive media attention, that he's saying publicly, oh, I don't know everybody's names, but I actually do in secret. And that's what I'm telling the media. I hope that's not the case either, because that's just, we're too rough in the weeds right there. You know what I mean? That's too much conspiracy. If that was on Around the Horn, I think Bill Barnwell threw that out there on Around the Horn. All right.
All I got to say is keep balling. I don't care what you do. That will be me. I really don't care if you just figured out where the locker room was an hour ago. Like, congratulations, but can keep on balling out. You know,
you don't need to know my name. Just keep doing it. I don't care. You don't need to know that I'm Dalton Reisner. Just go out there and ball, dude. We're good.
Exactly. So, that part, I definitely get where you're coming from, AJ. I mean, you know, I don't care about that aspect of things too much. I haven't paid it much attention besides the very first game he came in and played for the Falcons, where he was trying to get, you know, everybody was trying to get the cadence and everything, you know, on the sidelines and all of that. But yeah, the locker room thing was kind of weird. And I think it's funny that you didn't know where the locker room was. I'm so lost. I don't know what's going on. Then, touchdown, Josh Dobbs. Oh, touchdown, he runs it. Oh my gosh, he's lighting it up. It's like, dude, come on, bro. Like, this is nuts. But again, like, he's playing upset, like ridiculous right now. Like, it's crazy to see. If he's not a starter for the Vikings next year, which I don't believe he will be, like you said, AJ, I'm not there yet. I'm just not there yet. I'm not really there yet on Kirk either. I don't know. We'll say that for another day.
It's such a cloudy area right now.
It's
murky waters, because you can look down and you know there's fish down there. You just don't know if it's a shark or if it's a goldfish, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, perfect analogy there. Like you just really don't know. It's kind of up in the air. So you kind of just riding this wave right now. What I will say is he's going to be a starter for somebody next season, whether it's for the Vikings or somebody else looking for a starting quarterback. He is playing like a starter right now for sure. He didn't look this great, besides like the one game he played when he won against the Dallas Cowboys. But outside of that, like, he's going to be a starter for some team. So only thing I would hate to see is like they bring Kirk back and Kirk isn't quite the same after the Achilles injury. Or even, they put the rookie out there and he isn't quite what Josh Dobbs was, and he's somewhere in, I don't know, freaking back in Cleveland, or he's somewhere, just lighting it up. And it's crazy for me to say, because I was not singing this tune last episode, but I'm singing it now because what I just witnessed was crazy. So, and then look at the rest of the schedule, and I'm sure we're going to get into this Broncos game in a minute, but man, I stepped out on a limb last week. You guys shot it down. I feel like I'm going to say something else that you guys are going to shoot down. Just make this a thing every week now.
I just thought of how funny the situation would be. Like the narrative. Let's say he does pretty solid, and there's like conversation of like, should they bring him back? Should they not? They go with Kirk. Kirk now has to go up with they should have kept Josh Dobbs after one bad game. How much criticism and just everything that you almost feel bad for the guy. But that's another bridge for another day, so we're fine.
Yeah, it's not as bad as when the Vikings fans back in the day when Kirk struggled his first couple seasons, like, throw Sean Mannion out there, see what he's got instead of Kirk. Maybe not quite on that level, but still.
Yeah. I'm really interested in seeing how this team looks, because you guys brought up potentially the playoffs, and I do believe with this win against the Saints, they continue at this streak, they're gonna make the playoffs and probably get that sixth. Hopefully, I would hope for the seventh. I wouldn't want the sixth seed and have to play the 49ers if they're still the third seed.
I want to win the division, Artis. Let's go for the division. We still got Detroit at the end of the year. I'm just saying.
Well,
Lions still look good, though.
Whether you get that seed or not, my whole thought process was, that's a good point, actually, because the division is still up for grabs. Yeah. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, they cannot move up to snatch the division, and they have to stay in that 6th or 7th seed range, but they make the postseason. I'm really curious to see how they look against the Lions the last 2 games or not the last 2, but, when they play the Lions at the end of the season. Because I think they can beat Detroit playing like this. I really do. I don't really believe in the Lions defense like that. I mean, we just saw them go up and down the field against, the Chargers, and we know the Chargers they have a really good offense. But I'm just saying, like, the Lions seem like a really good feel-good story. I do believe in them. I do think they'll win the division. But they seem like a team that is like just a year ahead. And when they get to the playoffs, once they see a team that, like the Vikings, who are playing great on defense and playing really well on offense on both sides of the ball, that they're going to struggle because they're a really good offensive team, but not the greatest defensive team when they match up against really good offensive teams. We saw it against the Ravens. We saw it just last week. So, I'm curious to see how they look against the Lions when they finally do meet the Lions, because I think those are the toughest 2 games remaining on the schedule for the Vikings at this point. So that's going to be fun to watch. Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch. I'll put it like that.
But look at these teams behind us now. The 8th seed is Tampa at 4-5. The 9 seed is Washington at 4-6. The 10 is Atlanta at 4-6, and the 11 is the Packers at 3-6, and also at 12 the Rams at 3-6. I don't see any of those teams catching the Vikings.
No.
Maybe Tampa. Because
if they catch the Vikings, they're gonna win their division.
That's true. Because the NFC South just has been very mid the last couple seasons. And the Saints right now have the 4 seed at 5-5. So even though the Vikings beat the Saints still have 3 seeds ahead of the Minnesota Vikings in the playoff race. Yeah, it's very possible now. And obviously, I'm with you guys too. Even though, yes, I threw out, hey, maybe Josh Dobbs, long-term option, Vikings quarterback. It's still too early to make that determination right now. Is it tracking well? Absolutely. I mean, this is the best it could possibly track, but more needs to happen. And obviously, we'll get into the preview in just a sec. I think this Broncos game is going to be an incredible test for this guy, because the Broncos have, I believe, 9 takeaways in their last 2 games. And we know that the narrative with Josh Dobbs has kind of been having turnover issues, at least when he was with the Cardinals, particularly with fumbles. I'm interested to see how those 2 dynamics play out on the field on Sunday. But back to just the main conversation. Honestly, Danielle Hunter, really quick. This will be really my last point. He's now, I believe, tied for the league in sacks this season. And I think he is the outright leader in tackles for loss this season with 14. He had a monster game, just a monster game against the New Orleans Saints. DJ Wanham also had an awesome game. If, God forbid, Marcus Davenport's ankles can heal up just fine, I mean, that's going to be a pretty dang good pass rush as you're approaching the playoffs. But this kind of light bulb, not necessarily a light bulb moment because other people have thought of this, but it kind of just dawned on me. Man, if Josh Dobbs keeps playing this well, gets us to the playoffs, heaven forbid, maybe even wins a playoff game or plays really well in a playoff game and actually gives the Vikings a lot of direction about maybe making him the option in 2024. And I'm seeing also simultaneously Danielle Hunter arguably have his best season of his career. And now I just am thinking, okay, if it means that we get to keep Danielle Hunter really no matter what, and we got Josh Dobbs as this option, maybe that will let me be a little bit more open to letting Kirk go, even on a discount. Obviously, the Vikings are going to have to pay a lot of people next season. Justin Jefferson eventually is going to get paid as well. And I don't know. Maybe I need to slow my roll on this. I probably do. But I just saw a glimpse of what a Vikings team with more cap relief from the quarterback position can look like, and what it can also just mean for just the current team, and also just keeping your pieces that we've been wondering, hey, are these guys going to be able to stick around because of our financials? I got a glimpse of that, guys, and it gets me a little bit excited. That's probably why I brought up potentially Dobbs being a long-term option, because I maybe saw an avenue in which the Vikings can keep a lot of their contending pieces around if it just means letting Kirk go, and Josh Dobbs is potentially making that conversation easier for Vikings fans.
I think also what the glimpse that you're seeing is what this offense can look like with a quarterback that doesn't have cement feet in the backfield, you know?
There's that too.
I love the accuracy and the threaded balls that Kirk does, but like what we've seen here the past, week and a half, game and a half is sometimes that pocket breaks down, and it's nice to have a guy that can just kind of juke and jive, create some space, throw a little pump fake. All of a sudden he's sneaking around the outside, finds a seam somewhere, and what's that? He just scrambled what was essentially the accumulation of 42 yards, but in reality was only a 7-yard touchdown run. And you have the head coach on the sidelines just bewildered saying, I don't know how he just did that.
He literally shrugged his shoulders.
And that's what Kevin O'Connell did. So I think credit to him too, that he is unlocking him in a sense, because what his mind mixed with the physical ability of what we saw with Kirk and now what we're seeing with Josh Dobbs is really showcasing. It's great to have that precision passer back there, but God, it's just so fun and entertaining. And it's almost, I'm not going to put the label of must watch football on this just yet, but boy, is it getting there, because it's just, Judd the other day, I want to say on Before I Die, was saying it's like recess. It's like longest yard when they run that schoolyard BS play. It's not to that extent where they're throwing it and getting everybody involved and they're diving around the mud, but you can kind of hear that Chris Berman whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, he's just making guys miss. He's making guys miss. It's fun to watch. He makes a play and it's just God, he's got about 3 of the top 10 on SportsCenter tomorrow morning. So I'm liking the mobility, and it's just been too long since the Vikings have had anything remotely close to that. I think, what did we say last week? T-Jack, arguably maybe before that Dante. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since the Vikings have had that. So it's so fun. And granted, he's got the second most rushing yards of a QB, second only to Lamar Jackson. So this guy, who? You ever heard of him? He's been really opening the eyes, I think, of the Vikings fan base.
Mm-hmm. I want to say something.
Time. Yeah,
I want to say something. This is say something. I want to slightly, I want to slightly veer left, because I want to say something that I don't think has been said, and it's making me mad that it's not being said. I am sick and tired of the love affair with, and these are great players. Do not get me wrong. These are great players. Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt. Why is Danielle Hunter not brought up in Defensive Player of the Year conversations? Why? The tackles are there. The forced fumbles are there. The sacks are there. He has more sacks than all of those guys. He's been leading the league in sacks since week 1. I don't like the fact that the national media likes to focus for the most part on the big market teams, the teams that are just, like the Cowboys and the Steelers. And I know the Browns aren't like that, so you got to give Myles Garrett his credit, because he's doing this thing for the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it's the Browns. But at the end of the day, it's there's more players in this conversation, and Danielle Hunter is one of those players. Another thing that I want to bring up is there is not a single coach in the NFL halfway through the season that should be considered for Coach of the Year before KOC. Not one. Point. Not one. Yeah. There's not a single coach in the NFL that's had to go through as much adversity as KOC. You lost your starting quarterback. You lost your backup quarterback. You lost your best receiver, the best receiver in the league, yet and still you are winning game after game after game. But I'm hearing, all these other coaches being brought up in conversations, and DeMeco Ryans is, he's up there too. Don't get me wrong. What he has to work with, rookie quarterback, they had the 2 of the top 3 picks in the draft this past year, and they're absolutely balling. CJ Stroud is absolutely on another level. But at the end of the day, you're healthy for the most part. You have your team intact. KLC, again, all the players he's missed, yet and still this team is competing for a playoff spot without their best players on offense. And this is an offensive-minded coach. You say he's unlocked, Joshua Dobbs. He also unlocked Kirk Cousins, and he looks like he was about to unlock Jaron Hall too. So those are 2 players that I really just want to put the limelight on. I wish everyone in the world could hear this right now. Put some respect on KLC's name for Coach of the Year, because he should be number 1 right now, halfway through the season. And put some respect on Danielle Hunter, because if he's not number 1, he should dang sure be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm just saying, if Danielle keeps playing this way, we got to do everything possible to keep him a Minnesota Viking going into next season. And if that means potentially letting Kirk Cousins walk, I'm just saying. Might be an option that works out for the Vikings in the end, especially if Josh Dobbs continues to ball out like this. Guys, let's preview this Sunday night football game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Denver Broncos. Let's check out the line here. Denver favored by 2.5. The over-under is 42.5. Broncos just got an impressive win on the road against the Buffalo Bills, even though Josh Allen can't help but turn the ball over. He's an interception machine right now. But Russell Wilson kind of looking a little bit like old Russell Wilson over the last couple games. The Broncos, I believe, are on a 3-game winning streak. And Denver's a tough place to play. Besides the altitude, they got a pretty raucous fan base. No matter the condition of the team, they got good fans out there. It'll be prime time. People will be ready to go for that. So, guys, what are your keys for the Minnesota Vikings not only to keep the Daba mania alive throughout the US of A, but to also just, get another win, a necessary win over the Denver Broncos in prime time?
I'll let you go, AJ.
First, I want to see the run game established, but not just with Joshua Dobbs. Right now, you have Alexander Mattison, to my knowledge, still in concussion protocol. His condition is up in the air. His status of whether or not he will be available for that matchup against the Broncos. But we saw Ty Chandler, 15 carries, and he made. It wasn't like I wasn't like incredibly blown away, but I was impressed with what I saw. We talked about kind of the depth and what he's brought and maybe his lack of impression in the preseason. He put the ball on the ground a couple times during training camp, which is never big thumbs up receiving there. So what we saw was he had a couple bursts that really impressed me. So you have that kind of dual option where you've already established that Joshua Dobbs can scramble. But I don't want him scrambling just for scrambling's sake. This is not a Sunday brunch at a bed and breakfast. I want scrambling with a purpose. So that means you're going to get the run game involved, but you're also handing it off. And Ty Chandler, a guy that's been waiting in the wings. I don't want to say that a lack of skill is going to be made up for in budding opportunity. But this guy has been on the outside looking in in a sense for this entire season. He's been kind of waiting in the wings. They go out, they sign guys to the practice squad. It doesn't really work out. They don't get the crack in. They trade for Cam Akers. Now he's out for the season with an injury. This is the time for Ty Chandler to grab the bull by the horns. Alexander Mattison, I don't know. He must just be the nicest guy off the field because he has been getting RB1 reps for the entire season, and I'm not sure he's deserved it with his play on the field. So he's doing something off the field. He's baking brownies. He's washing cars. I'm not sure, but somebody owes him money maybe there at the practice facility because he keeps getting these reps. But now with his status up in the air, Ty Chandler, spotlight. If you get the nod for RB1 and they give you the opportunity, spotlight on you all night. I will be watching you. Pick up that block here and there when it's a passing play, but when you get that chance, hit the hole, fight for that extra down. Biggest thing is don't put the ball on the ground. I don't need James Cook dribbling down the middle of the field. That was wild. Did you guys see that?
I've never seen a fumble like that before. I've never seen that before. Unbelievable.
He just picks it up in the same motion and is still running at the same speed. It was impressive in my eyes. I thought it was impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
He's already a better dribbler than Jaylen Brown. Sorry.
It looked like a
cheap
Madden
Celtics
glitch.
Shot.
It was crazy. It was the most did I just see that just like everybody else did type of thing. But that's my biggest thing, Ty Chandler. But the second biggest thing is I was there in 2015 when Blair Walsh missed wide. I was there freezing my butt off with thousands of other Vikings fans. But I saw what Russell Wilson at that time with the Seahawks did. He's not what he doesn't have the legs he used to, but he's still shifty. He's still Russell Wilson. He's still got that brain of Russell Wilson, and he's Mr. Unlimited. He's unlimited. I want you to limit Mr. Unlimited. All right. I want DJ Wanham in Danielle Hunter to make his day a living hell. Okay. Get to him. And you got to remember now, they don't have Jordan Hicks back there. You're going to have that green dot, I believe, going to Ivan Pace Jr.
Wow.
What a story. This is a small tangent, but like for a guy, undrafted, you make a great impression, and now you're taking over as essentially, obviously you still have Harrison Smith on there, but the role of the green dot is, you're kind of calling out the plays, you're vocalizing, you're instructing right before the snap. It's a huge responsibility.
Huge. And
to be given that shows kind of the leadership that he has, the technical and like understanding of the playbook that he has, the relationship he's probably established with Brian Flores, and just his skill, because he's holding his own out there. He's doing a fantastic job. I was kind of joking after the first game or two, and I know they were losing, but like Ivan Pace Jr. might have been like the best linebacker that the Vikings had at the time. He might be now. It's like an easier argument to say, like, he is really showing out, and it seems like every week he's making plays. But you need to limit Mr. Unlimited, and that starts with Danielle Hunter, who, Jason, you were just raving about, and DJ Wanham, who has stepped up big time in Marcus Davenport's absence. And for the time being, you're not expecting him back. This is a guy that has struggled all season with the injuries, and now I don't know how much longer he's set to be out. But even if it's like, let's say he's expected back in like 2 weeks, add another week or two onto that, because we saw how like tough it is for him. And some guys just have, I heard this expression, they just have a bad skeleton, like
glass for bones. Yeah.
Like they for some reason their body just like doesn't recover or whatever. And they have those setbacks. And so DJ Wanham has been filling that hole incredibly nicely. He had a fantastic stop against Derek Carr, where he was like scrambling. It would have been a first down. It was like 3rd and 7 or 11 or something like that, but he stopped him with a shoestring tackle. It's those types of plays that he's making, but also the compliment that he's giving to Danielle Hunter. There's guys coming, whether it's left or right, they're getting to the quarterback. You need to limit Mr. Unlimited. So establish the run game, limit Mr. Unlimited. That's my 2 keys.
I would say I agree. He took one of my keys with the run game. I feel like I say that about every game, because you got to run the ball effectively. I feel like, especially now, to really open up the pass game. But I think my biggest key to this game is something that the Vikings struggled with earlier in the season, and I think lately they've gotten a lot better at it. Don't turn the football over. Not turn the football over.
They didn't against the Saints, guys, by the way. Bravo.
No
Minnesota
turnovers.
Vikings, no turnovers against the Saints.
No turnovers.
Might be the first game of the year.
And honestly, that's going to be a big key in this game. If you look at the last 2 games that the Denver Broncos have won, I mean, they played Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes turned the ball over through two bad interceptions. I think he was sick that game, if I'm not mistaken. He looked sick with the way he played. They only put up 9 points, but a lot of it was bad turnovers. And then the game against Josh Allen, Lord have mercy. I don't know what's wrong with Josh Allen these days. I guess this is just who he is or who he's always been, and I just turned a blind eye to it, because, I mean, it's Josh Allen. He can throw the ball. He's accurate. He's got, the big arm, and, he's won playoff games, But, oh, my goodness. I think he turned the ball over 3 times in that game, and they still almost won the game against the Broncos. So it just goes to show, like, if you don't give these guys short field opportunities and make Russell Wilson Mr. Unlimited. I'm so glad you said that, because I want to say that so bad.
I hate that so much.
Broncos country, let's ride.
I'm about to get a Danger Witch at Subway.
Oh, watch my God, bro.
It's spicy.
Bro, oh my gosh.
Have you ever done anything dangerous? Oh, really? I have too. Maybe not that bad, but.
Dude, he's hilarious, bro.
Jason is just so defeated.
Russell Wilson is one of the most annoying NFL players of all time.
He's hilarious.
He's successful, and I give him credit, and that's great and everything, but my God. He called himself that, guys. He gave himself that nickname.
And the way he said it, he's Mr. Unlimited. Oh my God!
You're right. No, he does that little like that hitch. It's like it's not Mr. Unlimited. It's Mr. Unlimited. He like takes the breath. Oh my God, you got that down,
bro. I watched it like several times, bro. I can't believe I forgot it, and then you said it. I'm like, oh my God, how can I forget? Oh my goodness. But anyway, if you make him travel the whole field, that's where you'll see the Broncos kind of unravel. You'll see turnovers. You'll see them struggle to move the ball up and down the field because they're not a great offensive team. Defensively, they've played well in recent weeks because they've turned the ball over, but they're still the worst defensive team in the league. Now, I've always viewed their defensive ratings kind of with an asterisk to an extent because of the Dolphins game. I feel like that brought them down so much.
Yeah.
And, points averaged per game and yards per. I mean, the Dolphins just did them so bad. They've looked bad, but they haven't looked that bad since the Dolphins game. So, I mean, they're statistically the worst defense in the league, but they're probably realistically somewhere between, I'd say, especially the way they're playing right now, somewhere probably between 24 to 32, somewhere around in that range. So ultimately, I say that to say they're not as bad as the stats say, but they're still not great. So if you can manage to just play effective, honestly, just kind of Josh Dobbs is going to, hopefully he continues to play the way he's been playing. But I really don't even think it's going to take that much to beat these guys. I think if he can game manage through this game, especially if Justin Jefferson is back, game manage, take care of the football, put your defense in prime position so that, force Russell Wilson to travel the whole field. I feel like the Vikings will get away with a win here this week against the Broncos. So, again, with the Vikings defense playing the way they've been playing against Russell Wilson, I like the Vikings' chances, honestly.
Yeah, and let's be honest, this is probably the best stretch of Russ's career with the Broncos up to this point. These last 3 games, he's had a 98 rating in all three of these wins for the Broncos. 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did get hit pretty hard in the Buffalo game. He was sacked 4 times, and he took 8 quarterback hits. So if the Vikings want to dial up the pressure like that with the blitz, feel free, especially because Wilson hasn't thrown more than 200 yards passing in more than 5 games now.
I was just about, not to interrupt you, I was literally just looking at the numbers like, dude hasn't thrown the ball for over 200 yards in forever.
Which
could travel the whole field.
Right. So if you're the Vikings, get him to throw the ball, to put a ton of pressure on him, blitz as heavy as you pretty much have all season. He can't really elude the pocket anymore. This isn't old Russell Wilson, although that touchdown throw that he had, I forget who the receiver was. It Sutton, where he's just scrambling around. He finds him in the back of the end zone and everything, and Sutton had made a great catch. That was like vintage Russell Wilson right there. That was 2013 at his best, Russell Wilson. So he's coming in hot to this game, more hot than Russell Wilson really ever has as a Bronco. I'm not too worried about Javonte Williams. He had a good game against Buffalo. He averages about 3.8 yards per carry, but the Vikings defense averages about 3.6, so that averages out kind of nice. Cortland Sutton has 7 touchdowns in his first 9 games of the season. And Byron Murphy Jr. arguably had his worst game of the season, taking out Chris Olave and the Saints. Now, granted, that was more in the second half. And let's be real, those 2 Saints touchdowns, those were just insane, crazy catches. Like, those could have gone either way, complete or incomplete. Maybe not in the call on the field, but in terms of just how the probability of the play, like A.T. Perry getting that ball and also Chris Olave, that was one of the best touchdown catches of the year Chris Olave had. So I'm going to be definitely looking at Cortland Sutton. Is Jerry Jeudy even playing for these guys right now? Is he hurt, or has he just been benched this whole time? Like, he's not even talked about.
Last game, he was on the field.
I know he's been involved in trade rumors and everything, but I haven't heard his number called like at all this season.
I haven't
made like 1 catch.
Yeah,
this past
he
week,
disappeared from me after Steve Smith cooked him in a pregame interview.
Ooh,
yeah.
Oh,
and
did
Steve
you
Smith
get see
cook.
that?
No,
Yeah,
I didn't.
Oh,
no,
I
didn't.
love Steve Smith is a
He's
legend.
great.
A legend, but he tried to go up and apologize. He was critical of him in the past, and Jerry Jeudy just big timed him, just put him down. He's like, he lit it. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, he lit him up.
Well, anyway, I'm not too worried about.
YouTube.
I'm not too worried about Jerry Jeudy in this game because he hasn't seemed to be a factor the entire season. I did mention that Denver has 9 takeaways in their last 2 games. If we are ever going to be worried about any turnover issues that Josh Dobbs has, and he hasn't really shown that with the Minnesota Vikings, that's more been a Cardinals problem so far. That's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on. But we haven't mentioned him all show, and he had arguably his best game of his career against the New Orleans Saints. TJ Hawkinson, with one of the most historic first halves, or any half, that a tight end has ever had, I believe. Only 2 tight ends since 1978. The other one was Zach Ertz back in 2018, have had 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown in a single half. He absolutely went bonkers. And the hits that TJ was taking throughout that whole game, too, he literally got hit one play, landed on his back, and his kneecap hit himself in the face in the helmet. It just looked very, very uncomfortable. And I was like, dude, get this guy on ice. Seriously. But the Broncos defense to tight ends are allowing a 111.4 rating against tight ends this season. So if you thought TJ could feast against the New Orleans Saints, he should be able to feast even more so against the Denver Broncos. But I'm honestly not going to be surprised if the Vikings try to mix in like more Johnny Munt in this game, just because, man, TJ's got to just be feeling very bruised and beaten after that. I can't even imagine just the hits that he take. And he talked about it in his press conference too. He's just like, yeah, a win's a win and we got to do anything for the team. But, oh, man, it took a lot of hits out there. So if the Vikings want to feel free, if you want to get Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt more involved in the passing game, I don't know if that complicates too much things for Josh Dobbs at this point in the season. But, I mean, this Broncos team is terrible against tight ends this season. And so let's get into the predictions, guys. Artis, sound like you were leaning towards the Minnesota Vikings. You're keeping the faith. We'll start with AJ, though. AJ, how do you think the Vikings are gonna fare in Denver?
What a pump fake. Oh my!
I know. I was fully getting ready to like casually pull up the spread just to kind of.
I'm sorry. We can start with Artis.
No, we're fine. I just that 2 sentences there was enough to fine.
Quarterback for the Vikings.
So my rule has of like these picks the past however many weeks, because they just haven't proved it to me, was to wait until they prove it. Was to doubt them until they say, "Hey, you big dumb idiot, you have to side with us." And there's absolutely no way I can side with Mr. Unlimited. So I'm going to pick the Vikings. However, I will stand with it's going to be a 1-score game until they prove to me that they can, because frankly, and this is not a shock. Everybody's going to agree with this. They've not shown that they can do anything other than make it a 1-score game at any point in any game. It's always close. It's always entertaining. I appreciate that. It makes me want to stick around to the end. But I would love if we get to like midway through the third and Justin Jefferson in his first game back from the IR puts up his 3rd touchdown of the day to get to 150 yards and he's grittying in the end zone. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can just like go to bed, maybe I don't need to watch Mr. Unlimited do 3 and outs the rest of the night. So until that time happens, I'm going to keep it 1-score games. So I will say the Vikings will beat the Broncos. They will beat Sean Payton. They will beat Mr. Unlimited, and they will go ahead and eat some danger witches to move and keep the Josh Dobbs mania, the win streak alive. They are going to win 20. No, I'm going to, you know what? No, I'm going to say it's going to be a 30-point performance by the Vikings. They're going to win 30-24.
Ooh.
Fireworks 30-24. Shootout on Sunday.
I'm also rolling with the Minnesota Vikings. I kind of feel the same way, man. I've been picking against the Vikings enough. And last game, I was confident when I picked against them. Like, yeah, they ain't beating the Saints. And they went out there and for a vast majority of the game, stomped the Saints out. So I'm definitely rolling with the Vikings in this football game. Again, their defense, especially in the first half of games, have been playing really well as of late. Just in general, they've been playing really well. I can see them really limiting Mr. Unlimited. I can see them limiting Russell Wilson, especially if they don't turn the football over, forcing him to travel the length of the football field, which is the phrase I was looking for earlier that I just could not spit out for whatever reason. If he doesn't throw for over 200 yards, he's not going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. And so for that reason, like I said, I'm going with the Vikings. I think Josh Dobbs will play well. I'm not sure if he's going to play as well as he did last game, but I'm not going to underestimate him either. I just think he'll do enough to win this football game. I won't go as high as 30. I'll say 20. Let's go 26-20. I don't think the Broncos put up more than 20 points against that defense.
Right on. I'm going to pick the Broncos to win 24-21.
Really?
I'm going against the Minnesota Vikings here.
Oh, boy.
I am extremely impressed with how this Broncos defense has been playing the last couple weeks. I mean, 9 takeaways in 2 games is just absolutely insane. Doesn't mean that's going to carry over the Vikings, but I am scared of this defense right now. It's as much as I think a lot of people, probably myself included, wanted to see the Sean Payton and Russell Wilson experiment fail. It's starting to balance out a little bit. They've gotten to 5-5. They're competing still in a very tough division, despite the Raiders being in it. And I just think Denver has built a lot of momentum. I mean, that was a season-defining win out there in Buffalo. Despite all of Buffalo's problems, it still meant a lot for that Broncos team to go out there on the road and get that job done in a hostile environment that is Buffalo. And yeah, just Russell's playing better than I think anybody probably expected him to this season. Javonte Williams, don't expect a lot of him, but he's still tricky in the pass game too. He's very tricky. And Cortland Sutton, like I mentioned, is having a very good start to his season. Or actually, I mean, we're halfway through the NFL season, guys. Time flies when you're having fun. But I think we're gonna see just a little bit of the magic fade. Still hopeful that the Vikings are gonna still make the playoffs and everything like that. It's just, I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm getting the vibes that it's just going to come back down to earth, at least in this game. I'm pretty sure I picked the Vikings to lose to the Broncos before the season anyway, so I guess I'm staying consistent with my original pick. But yeah, this is, and I don't think the prime time has anything to deal. I don't think that's going to be a factor or anything like that. I don't think anybody's going to that's going to be a psychological issue for anybody. But yeah, it's just, I like Denver's momentum right now, and I love ours, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like we're just going to come back down to earth a little bit. Dobbs might still have a really, really good game. It might not even, be the reason the Vikings lose, because he's turning over the ball and the Vikings or the Broncos are creating more takeaways. It's just, I'm worried about the run game. The Ty Chandler flashed really well, and he almost had a touchdown if it wasn't called back for a hold against the Saints as well. But the depth at running back is starting to concern me with the Vikings, and we can't make any more trades at this point, and most of the free agents are gone. I believe, didn't Leonard Fournette sign with the Bills? Didn't I see that correctly? So I don't even know who might be out there if you do need somebody available in free agency. So anyway, long story short, yeah, I'm gonna pick against the momentum the Minnesota Vikings and all the fans of Josh Dobbs have right now with a 24-21 loss to the Denver Broncos. So yeah. Even though I'm wearing my purple shirt today, Well, I've just got pump fakes all over the place today. I don't know what to tell you guys. You know what I mean? So
not mad at it. They are on the high street.
Yeah. We'll see. I hope I am wrong. Anyway, gentlemen. Oh, AJ, you go ahead.
No, it sounds like you had a great segue, and I think you're going to have a better segue than me.
Would you like to try your segue?
No, because it was half thought out. It was half that.
Okay. Well, I mean, you think my
you tell you what.
Anyway,
tell you what. I'll give it a shot, and then if you think yours would be better, then then you can take a second crack at it. You ready?
It won't be. Go ahead.
So I think that given the defensive success we've seen from Brian Flores of late, he's going to put Mr. Unlimited and the Broncos offense in a chokehold. Speaking of chokeholds, how about that Warriors game against the Timberwolves yesterday? My goodness, what was going on there?
You really thought I could do better than that?
That was
come on, dude.
Marvelous.
That was fantastic. Yes, magnificent. Yeah. How about that, guys? Things got a little testy in Golden State the other night with not the Vikings, the Timberwolves and the Warriors. I mean, Draymond's just gonna do Draymond things, right? You know what I mean? I mean, if he's willing to punch his own teammates, I can't really be too surprised that he goes after. Yeah, I can't be too surprised that he goes after any opposing players. But honestly, I don't care about any of that. I mean, I'm glad that everybody's okay, and I'm glad that we're showing fire. But this is an 8-2 basketball team right now after beating 2 straight Warriors teams on the road.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, they are literally the first thing I want to say, I do want to comment on that really quick. That whole thing before a point was scored, you can tell that the Wolves are in the Warriors' head. You could sense that. The Warriors, I said this off air, I'm going to say it on air. They are washed. They're washed. The only player on that team that's not washed is Steph Curry. They are washed. Draymond Green is not the same player he once was. Klay Thompson, dang sure, is not the same player he once was. They have moments, but they are not the Warriors that they used to be. Let's just start there. I do think I'm not going to defend Draymond, but I've heard a lot of players say it, and I kind of felt the same way. Rudy, if you interfere in the fight, grab your own teammate. Do not grab someone else from an opposite team, because at that point, all bets are off. But Draymond, there's no reason for a headlock and drag a guy halfway across the court. There was some beef heading into this game. They don't like each other, and I think that's what it really was about. And then Rudy gave him an excuse to do what he did. Let's just put it like that. But like you said, Jason. Well, go ahead, AJ.
No. You go. You finish your thought.
Like you said, AJ. This team 8-2. Can't even get it out.
You're
it's just
getting
so hard
choked
to
up.
say.
You're getting
Oh my
emotional.
God.
You never seen the
my
Timberwolves.
goodness.
This is about starting over 20 years.
Dude,
it's a lot of emotions.
One of the best teams in basketball right now. I don't want to put a ranking on it. I don't want to say they're the best or they're top 5. They're one of the best teams in basketball. They're beating some of the best teams in basketball right now. These numbers are going to change after today because they're getting smoked right now by Phoenix, which is not pleasant.
Yeah.
But before this game, first in defensive rating, first in opponent three-point percentage, first in opponent's field goal percentage, first in opponent's points scored per game. Insane defense. I feel like everybody's bought in. The mindset and the attitude around that team has completely shifted. Everybody kind of knows their roles. Anthony Edwards is playing like the star we all knew he could. Cat is, playing like a star and then not playing like a star when he realizes he doesn't have to be the guy, realizing that Ant is the guy. It's a beautiful thing to see. And Rudy Gobert is playable at the moment at all times, which is nice to see. With Cat on the floor, without him on the floor, whether teams go small, whether they play big, he has been effective no matter who's out there with him, and that is a sight to see. So the Wolves, man, I wish we had a little bit more time to dive into them, but these boys look good, bro. They look very good.
And they look even better because they're wearing their throwback jerseys tonight against Phoenix. I love this old school Wolves thing that they got going on with the jerseys. Got the court, too, and everything. Yes. It's exciting, man. Yeah, obviously the Josh Dobbs stuff and the Vikings are taking most of the attention for Minnesota sports fans right now. But this is one of the best starts that the Timberwolves have ever had. And I don't think any of us really saw this coming. I think a lot of us expected maybe some of the struggles of last season to carry over into this season, wondering if playing 3 centers potentially at any given time is going to work. It is working, and it's also working with Naz Reid thriving as well. See, that's the best part about all this, guys. Everybody's thriving right now. You can make the argument that, okay, maybe Cat still has some work to do, but we're still winning ball games. And Cat had a really good game against the Warriors in this last one. He was pretty much the reason that they won. If we're this good right now, and we don't even have one of our superstars like playing to his full potential in Karl Anthony Towns, where else can this team go? That's what I'm curious. And again, they're already beating really good teams with a lot of pedigree. You beat the Celtics and the Nuggets. Those are 2 teams that have been picked to go to the NBA Finals this year. You've already done that. The momentum is sky high for this team. And yeah, things aren't going maybe great in Phoenix tonight, but they still got a whole nother half to play. But there's still a lot of work that this Timberwolves team needs done. And even Chris Finch has gone on the record saying, hey, we still need to string together more. We still need to see how disciplined this team can be. We need to see how mature this team is this season. I mean, we can already make the assumption that it is already night and day compared to last season. I already feel like there's a tremendous more amount of maturity on this team. And honestly, maybe this whole Draymond situation is a good indication of that. Like, nobody lost their cool with Draymond. Jane McDaniels did not lose his cool. It's not like he went and punched a wall in the Oracle Arena locker room or wherever, the Chase Center, wherever they play right now. Everybody seemed to hold their composure, maybe with the exception of Rudy Gobert and everything like that. Maybe Rudy shouldn't have really gotten behind anybody like Artis said. But this is just so fun. And yeah, in a weird way, you just kind of wish the Vikings weren't so good so we could focus on the Timberwolves. But hey, we'll take 2 really good teams in town. And I know we got to wrap up the show too and everything like that here pretty quick. But I don't think AJ wants to talk too much Minnesota Wild today.
No, like well, no, not really. I want to say a point on one. I need the Wolves and the Wild, these alternate jerseys that they've been using now, just make them permanent.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're so much better than both of your normal ones. I want to see the Wolves make a blue or black version of what they have now and like make that the other one. And then Wild, just, you have both. Just implement it, make it permanent. It looks so much better, even if you're going to be bad. But to the Wolves point, and I know I can't talk as much X's and O's basketball as either of you, but when it comes to like locker room glue guy type things for a guy given my skill set growing up, I had to be a locker room guy. I had to be a better teammate than I was an athlete, you know? So in the heat of the moment, I understand like he sees I need to protect my guy, so he goes after the guy that's attacking him. I get it. You know, you're going to go after Klay Thompson, whatever. But I saw this take from Patrick Beverley this morning, former Timberwolf.
Yeah.
He was saying that like Draymond won the exchange because, you know, he saw that happen, and then he's like, I got my teammates back. And the 12th game of this regular season, they can live with it. The 5-game suspension, they can live with it. Like Artis said, he's not the player he used to be. I'm not going to say wash because I don't have that credibility to, you know, throw the wash claim on somebody yet. But, you know, he's not the player he used to be. So this isn't really going to impact them dreadfully as if it's a playoff game or a playoff series for that matter. And Rudy Gobert not like having the teammates back, Cat not like having the teammates back as much as I guess people wanted him to. I disagree with that take.
Yeah.
Because here's my thing. What that shows me is that if Patrick Beverley is still on this Minnesota Timberwolves team, the maturity is so much different. The maturity should be we're focused on the game, not on the moment. We're on the task at hand, which is winning this game. We don't need to do the mind games. We don't need to, you know, win the physical, like get in your face, blah, blah, blah. We want to play basketball. We want to win. We're going to get chippy, but we want to look at the overarching situation and not win just that one moment and be able to get out of there and have, you know, that cryptic post on Instagram, you know, doing whatever.
Yeah. With
him, they might lose that game, but the maturity level of like what Mike Conley has brought, that kind of just pure adultness, like that's a man, you know, he has his mind on winning basketball games, and that's it. That maturity has resonated with the rest of the locker room. I think it's been probably a pretty good like example for Cat to kind of soak up and see and watch every day and practice every day, just going through how does Mike Conley do it? You know, he gets on the bus at this time. What does he do in the locker room 3 hours before the game? What's he doing to prepare for the game? How is he maintaining his body? He's not staying up to watch one more episode of The Office. And I'm not saying, I don't think Ant probably watches The Office, but you know, do I want to take my dog for a walk tonight, or do I want to go out and, you know, go to a club for an hour or two? That's the thing. Like, I think the maturity of what we've seen with the Wolves here so far in this very early portion of the season, that's going to help them sustain success rather than have a very good hot streak like we're seeing now. And let's say they lose tonight. They lose the next game. You know, all of a sudden, they're going to be able to rebound. They're not going to get in their own heads about it, not put themselves in their own back pocket, and they're going to rise back to the occasion and have success sustained, which is what you're going to need to not be a play-in game team anymore. You're going to be a team that has possibly home court advantage in the playoffs and set yourself up to actually win a series. That's what this maturity does on top of the skill that they have and what we're seeing of them, like actually being healthy and being on the court all at the same time. So it's actually fun. I'm not a huge basketball guy, but it's been fun to tune in and watch the Wolves now that they're, you know, kind of figuring it out.
AJ, if you think we put Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert on the Wild power play killing unit, do you think it'd be better this season?
I don't even want to talk about that. You know what? Really quick. God. You know what's going to fix that team? Apparently going to Sweden. They're in Sweden.
Hey, yeah, now. You never know.
So they play at 10 a.m. on Saturday, 7 a.m. on Sunday. If I wake up both those days and I see them get 8 put up on them again and not kill off a single penalty, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah,
Figure it out. Dean, rally the troops. Let's do something here.
Please and thank you.
I need Krill to step it up a little bit. I know he's got some stuff going on, whether it's injury, whether it's personal, whether it's mental. I'm not sure. You got to figure it out, man. You got the assistant captain's patch on your chest now. Let's go. Do something.
Yeah.
I haven't lost faith in you, but I'm just saying, like, you're a leader on this team now. You have to do it. So
yeah, and he's a slow starter. We get that, but we're 15, 16 games in now. It's probably beyond just a slow start. Wild have work to do. Timberwolves doing plenty of good work right now, and the Josh Dobbs experiment is working fantastically for the Minnesota Vikings. We got to wrap things up here on the SKOR North Taxi Squad. Guys, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, sir. That's all I got.
Right on.
Yeah,
okay.
same here.
Sounds good. I got
remember everybody, stay unlimited.
Okay, that's...
Unlimited.
And that is enough for the SKOR North Taxi Squad for the week. It's available on skornorth.com, the SKOR North mobile app, Spotify, Apple right there. I'm kind of pointing to it. If you want to see our lovely faces, though, you can check us out on the SKOR North YouTube channel. My name is Jason Stormer. That's point that way. That's AJ Fredrickson. That's Artis Woods. We will catch you next week. We'll break down the Vikings-Broncos game, and then we'll also get a preview. Who do the Vikings play after that, guys? I'm blanking right now. Who do we play after the Broncos?
I'd have one
the
game
Bears?
at a time.
Is it the Bears?
I
don't know.
One game at a time.
You'll listen to Taxi Squad and you'll figure it out then. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye. See you later.
Broncos country.
Whatever.
Let's wrap.